Regular transition of adjectives and verbs. 1. You need to insert a paragraph here on this newspaper insert. 2. How can you object to this object? 3. I'd like to present you with this present. 4. Would you care to elaborate on his elaborate explanation? 5. The manufacturer couldn't recall if there'd been a recall. 6. The religious convert wanted to convert the world. 7. The political rebels wanted to rebel against the world. 8. The mogul wanted to record a new record for his latest artist. 9. If you perfect your intonation, your accent will be perfect. 10. Due to the drought, the fields didn't produce much produce this year. 11. Unfortunately, City Hall wouldn't permit them to get a permit. 12. Have you heard that your associate is known to associate with gangsters? 13. How much do you estimate that the estimate will be? 14. The facilitator wanted to separate the general topic into separate categories.
Welcome to English as a Second Language podcast, number 28. Welcome to English as a Second Language podcast, number 28. If you are a new listener to our podcast, please go to our website at www.eslpod.com, where you can find more information about this podcast. Today's topic is going to be small talk, talking about things that aren't very important. Let's get started. I admit that I'm not very good at small talk. When I'm with friends, I can just shoot the breeze all day long. But when I talk to a stranger or someone I don't know very well, I'm always casting about, searching for something to talk about. Politics and religion are definitely taboo subjects, at least here in the United States. But you have to chat about something, otherwise there are these uncomfortable silences. So we end up talking about, what else? The weather. This usually begins with something like, "So, nice weather we're having." Or, "It sure is a warm one out there today." Of course, we have to comment on the temperature. My favorite is, "It's not the heat that's so bad, it's the humidity." Actually, I think that's true. I hate it most when it's muggy outside. Back in my home state of Minnesota, everyone is obsessed with the weather report. Every TV station has its own meteorologist with a high-tech radar giving you the 5-day forecast. They tell you when the temperature is rising or falling, what kind of clouds are moving in, and how cold the wind chill is. My favorite quote about the weather comes from Mark Twain, who once said that everybody talks about the weather, but no one does anything about it. Now let's go over or review some of the things that we talked about. I started off by saying that I'm not very good at small talk. Small talk is an expression we use to describe the things that we say to someone else just to fill the time. Not anything important, the weather, what movie they've seen, anything that isn't controversial. That is, anything that you're not going to get into a fight or an argument about. It's the sort of thing you say to strangers or somebody perhaps that you don't know very well. I said that when I am with my friends, I can shoot the breeze all day long. To shoot the breeze is an informal expression that means to talk about many different things, usually for a very long time. That's why I say I can shoot the breeze all day long, meaning the entire day. Often when we use shoot the breeze, we mean that we're talking about many things, but not necessarily much that is important. When I talk to a stranger, I said that I was always casting about. To cast about here means to look for. And usually it is followed by something like, I'm casting about for a new pen. In my example, I said, I'm casting about searching for something to talk about. Again, searching, casting about are very similar. We usually use this expression, casting about, when we don't know where something is, that we are searching for something that we have no idea where it might be. We're casting about. Usually it means not being very successful in casting about. I mentioned that in the United States, at least, talking about politics and religion, particularly with strangers, is considered a taboo subject. A taboo, T-A-B-O-O, a taboo is a subject that it is forbidden or it is considered inappropriate to talk about. We also use this term to describe actions that are considered inappropriate. Another word for talking informally to someone is called chatting. To chat means to talk to someone in an informal environment or an informal situation. On the internet, there are chat rooms. That expression comes from this verb to chat, to talk about something not very important. I said that usually we end up talking about the weather. This expression, to end up, means after a time of trying to do something else, what you do after you've tried other things. I tried to fix my car the other day. I checked the oil. It was okay. I checked my battery. It was okay. So I ended up taking it to a mechanic to get it fixed. It's the last thing that we do when everything else fails. End up also means destination. Where are you going to end up means what is going to be your destination or what will happen to you after a certain amount of time. I use the expression very common in conversation. I use the expression, what else? What else means that what you're going to say is obvious, that everyone knows the answer. I wanted to go to a movie last night, and my wife wanted to go to the theater. So, where did we end up going? Well, what else? The theater. Because my wife is always right. Now, I said that we usually begin a conversation about the weather with something like, "So, nice weather we've been having." This is a common expression. It's probably one that people sometimes use almost as a joke when they want to make small talk. "So, nice weather we've been having." A more serious, if you will, or non-joking expression would be something like, "It sure is a warm one out," meaning a warm day. Or we might say, "It sure is a cold one out there," meaning it's cold outside. Lots of vocabulary can come up when talking about the weather. Heat and cold, you probably already know, but there are also terms like humidity. Humidity is the amount of water in the air, the amount of moisture in the air. When it's very humid, it's muggy, M-U-G-G-Y. Muggy means it's very humid. This is when, for example, in the United States, if you're in Florida, in Miami, Florida, in the summertime, it's very hot and it's very humid. It's muggy. The opposite of muggy would be dry. In Phoenix, Arizona, in the United States, which is in the desert, it's not muggy. There's no humidity. It's very dry. I'm originally from Minnesota in the northwest or north central part of the United States. And there I said that everyone is obsessed with the weather report. The weather report is what you read in the newspaper or see on the news about what the weather is going to be. It's very similar to the forecast. The forecast is the prediction for the weather. What's the forecast today means what is the weather going to be like today. We use those terms very similar way. A meteorologist is the scientist, the person that studies the weather. And in the United States, in many cities, it's very common that the television station, when they have their news broadcast, the person who is giving you the weather is a meteorologist, someone who went to school to study meteorology or the weather. Many stations here in Los Angeles and in other cities have what I called high-tech radar. Radar, as you probably know, can be used for figuring out where the clouds and the rain are. But we also use radar, for example, in the airport. If you watch television and you see the radar, there's usually a round screen and there's a line like a clock, like the hand on a clock going around and around. That's a radar. High tech means very high technology, very sophisticated, very expensive often, and very fancy, meaning sophisticated. They tell you, we talk about the temperature rising or falling. Of course, the temperature goes up, it rises. If it goes down, it falls. When we talk about clouds, again, there's a special vocabulary we sometimes use. We talk about the clouds moving in, meaning they're arriving, they're coming, just like you would move into a house. After you buy a new house, you move into it. You put all your things there. We use that same expression for clouds. The clouds are moving in. Wind chill is a term we use in cold parts of the country. It's a difficult concept somewhat. It's how cold your skin feels, not necessarily how cold it is outside. If it's 10 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, very cold, but the wind is 20 miles per hour, the wind chill will be below 10 degrees. In other words, the wind chill is how cold it feels on your bare skin, your face, your hands, and so forth. That's going to do it for today's English as a Second Language podcast. As always, we invite you to visit our website or email us at eslpod@eslpod.com. We're always interested in finding out who's listening. Thanks for listening today. We'll see you tomorrow on ESL Podcast. ESL Podcast is produced by the Center for Educational Development in Los Angeles, California. This podcast is copyright 2005. Welcome to English as a Second Language podcast, number 315. Going to the Park. This is English as a Second Language podcast, episode 315. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff McQuillan, coming to you from the Center for Educational Development in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Go to our website at eslpod.com and take a look at some of the new features on our website. If you haven't visited it recently, we have some new exciting things on the website. You can also download a learning guide for this episode to help you learn English even faster. Our episode is called Going to the Park. It's a dialogue between a man and a woman who meet in the park. What will happen next? Let's find out. I arrived at the park a little early for our neighborhood baseball game, and I needed to kill some time. I decided to take a walk along one of the trails so I could look at the scenery. Suddenly, I came across a woman sitting under a tree. What a beautiful day to be at the park.
Oh, hi. Yes, it's a nice day, isn't it?
You look comfortable sitting on the grass in the shade reading.
It's a quiet spot away from the playground.
Do you come here often?
Not too often. I come here every so often on the weekends.
This is a great spot for a picnic. I saw a lot of people on the other side near the fountain, but this is much more peaceful.
Yeah, that's why I like it here. Were you looking for the baseball field? It's on the other side of the park.
Yes, I know. I was just warming up with a little walk around the park. We have a baseball game starting in a half hour.
I saw some people practicing when I walked past the field earlier. I haven't seen a baseball game in ages.
Why don't you come and watch? It should be a good game.
Maybe I will. Thanks for the invitation.
No problem. Take care.
You too.
Our dialogue begins with Octavie saying, I arrived at the park a little early for our neighborhood baseball game. The word park describes any natural area, usually one with trees or places to play, usually in a city, although you can have a park anywhere, but we usually think of parks as being in a city, a green area in the city. Central Park in New York City is an example. Octavie says he needed to kill some time. The idiom to kill some time means to do something with extra time that you have. You arrive at your doctor's appointment 15 minutes early, so you have to wait at least 15 minutes, probably an hour if it's the doctor, before you can see him or her. You need to kill some time, so you read a magazine or a book, for example. Well, Octavie needs to kill some time because he's early for a baseball game. He decides to take a walk along one of the trails. A trail is a footpath. It's a dirt area where you can walk, usually outdoors in a park. Usually a trail is unpaved. Unpaved means there's no cement or asphalt. It's just the ground. So he's walking along one of the trails in the park to take a look at the scenery. The scenery, S-C-E-N-E-R-Y, are the views of the park, the beautiful things around you, such as mountains or a forest or a lake. Those could all be part of the scenery, nice things to look at. Suddenly, he says he came across a woman sitting under a tree. To come across someone means to meet someone by chance, by accident, without planning to do so. You can come across a thing as well. I was looking on my desk yesterday and I came across a credit card bill. I wasn't expecting to find it. I guess I was hoping I wouldn't find it, but I did, so I had to pay it. That's to come across something. So he comes across a woman sitting under a tree, a tall plant with wood at the bottom and leaves at the top is a tree. Octavie says, "What a beautiful day to be at the park." He's trying to start a conversation with the beautiful woman. Irene says, "Oh, hi. It's a nice day, isn't it?" She's agreeing and continuing the conversation. Octavie says, "You look comfortable sitting on the grass in the shade, reading." The grass is, you may know, the green plant that is usually very short and is used by people to walk on or sit on. or sometimes just to make an area look beautiful. Irene is sitting on the grass in the shade. Shade, S-H-A-D-E, is an area where there isn't any direct sunlight. For example, if you are underneath a tree and the tree is blocking the light of the sun, you are in the shade. There's no direct sunlight. It's usually cooler in the shade as well, of course. Irene says that it's a quiet spot away from the playground. Spot here just means place, a small area. There are a couple of different meanings for the word spot. Take a look at our learning guide for some additional explanations. Irene says that it's a quiet spot away from the playground. A playground is an area for usually young children to play. It often has equipment for the children to play on, such as a swing, which is when you have like a small chair that hangs from a tree and you go back and forth in it. That would be something you might find on a playground. It's usually a word we only use to talk about an area for children, however. Octavi then asks a question, do you come here often? Octavi uses this expression seriously, but when a native English speaker hears this, they would laugh somewhat. It's considered a very old way, an obvious way of trying to continue a conversation with a woman whom you are interested in. And so if you actually wanted to meet this woman, you probably wouldn't use this expression, do you come here often? It's a very old expression, and she might laugh because it's so obvious what you are trying to do. I've only used it once in my life, and it didn't work. I never did get to talk to the woman. So Irene apparently doesn't care that this is an old, what we would call pickup line, where you try to meet another person, often a man meeting a girl, usually. Well, not a girl, a woman. Irene says, not too often, meaning I don't come here very often. I come every so often on the weekends. Every so often means once in a while, occasionally. Not something you do every weekend or every day. Octavi says this is a great spot for a picnic. A picnic is when you eat food outside. People bring food and you come and you sit on the grass and you can have a picnic. Octavi says, I saw a lot of people on the other side of the park, near the fountain. A fountain, F-O-U-N-T-A-I-N, is a piece of art or sculpture that sends water into the air. It's usually used for decoration to make something more beautiful with water. In Rome, for example, there's the famous Trevi Fountain, where you can go and see a million other tourists trying to see the same fountain. It's beautiful if you can see it without the other million people. Octavi says that the place where Irene is much more peaceful. It's more calmer. It's more tranquil. Less noise. Irene says, yeah, that's why I like it here. Were you looking for the baseball field? She's asking Octavi if he's looking for the area where a game is played. In this case, the baseball game. You can have a baseball field. You can have a soccer field. You can have a football field. These are all areas or places where you play certain organized games. Irene says the baseball field is on the other side of the park. Octavie says, yes, I know. I was just warming up with a little walk around the park. To warm up is a two-word phrasal verb meaning to prepare for exercising or to prepare for a big game, a sports game, by moving your muscles slowly to get them ready. That's warming up. I warm up for ESL podcast by running 2 miles. No, I don't, really. Irene says, I saw some people practicing on the baseball field when I walked past earlier. She says, I haven't seen a baseball game in ages. In ages means in a long time. Irene is then asked by Octavie, why don't you come and watch? It should be a good game. Irene says, maybe I will. Thanks for the invitation. This, of course, is a way for Octavie to try to talk even more to Irene. Octavie says, no problem. Irene thanks him, and he says, no problem, which is an informal way of saying you're welcome. Then he says, take care. This is an expression, an informal expression we use with people to say goodbye. Take care of yourself. Usually we just say, take care. Now let's listen to the dialogue, this time at a normal speed. I arrived at the park a little early for our neighborhood baseball game, and I needed to kill some time. I decided to take a walk along one of the trails so I could look at the scenery. Suddenly, I came across a woman sitting under a tree. What a beautiful day to be at the park.
Oh, hi. Yes, it's a nice day, isn't it?
You look comfortable sitting on the grass in the shade reading.
It's a quiet spot away from the playground.
Do you come here often?
Not too often. I come here every so often on the weekends.
This is a great spot for a picnic. I saw a lot of people on the other side near the fountain, but this is much more peaceful.
Yeah, that's why I like it here. Were you looking for the baseball field? It's on the other side of the park.
Yes, I know. I was just warming up with a little walk around the park. We have a baseball game starting in a half hour.
I saw some people practicing when I walked past the field earlier. I haven't seen a baseball game in ages.
Why don't you come and watch? It should be a good game.
Maybe I will. Thanks for the invitation.
No problem. Take care.
You too.
The script for this episode was written, as always, by our very own Dr. Lucy Say. Thank you, Lucy. That's all we have time for today. If you have a question or comment, you can email us. Our email address is eslpod@eslpod.com. From Los Angeles, California, I'm Jeff McQuillan. We'll see you next time on ESL Podcast. Take care. English as a Second Language podcast is written and produced by Dr. Lucy Say, hosted by Dr. Jeff McQuillan. This podcast is copyright 2007.
Hey, what are you listening to?
Right now, I'm listening to the Foo Fighters' latest album. There are some really good tracks on this CD, including the new single.
Let me see your iPod for a minute. It looks like you've got a ton of good stuff loaded up. I like Gwen Stefani, too. And what's this? Shakira? I had no idea you were a fan of hers.
I think she's really a talented singer and songwriter. And, well, She's hot, too.
Yeah, I bet. Let's see. You've got some great jazz and blues standards here, too. Charlie Parker, Duke Ellington, and Billie Holiday. This one's a live recording, and these are compilations. You've got their greatest hits and some bootleg stuff, too. I never knew you were such a jazz buff.
Yeah, I like all kinds of music. Now, where are you going with my iPod?
I thought I'd just borrow it for a little while.
Yeah, right. Hand it over. I've got to download my favorite podcast.
Listen to the radio broadcast. What does the DJ talk about? Check the correct answer.
Hi there, Scooby Schumann here with KROK Radio Entertainment News. This year's big audio awards were handed out tonight in New York City, and for once, the show produced a few surprises. Many of the winners won for the first time, and some were virtually unknown. Best Song went to newcomer Kelly King for her bouncy pop hit, Love Me Silly. Rock music was honored in the Best Album category as the Glory Hounds won the award for their debut CD, Rough and Smooth. The Glory Hounds also performed some of their best-known rock hits on the show. Best Video went to the rap trio Most Wanted for their chart-topping hit, Street Fight. The video was directed by Lonnie Singleton. Not surprisingly, the most popular soundtrack came from the blockbuster movie The Other Side of Five. Jazz legend Sam White won his fourth big audio award for that album.
Oh, I didn't think I'd make it home in time for the game.
What game?
The playoffs. Turn on the TV. I hope it's still in the first quarter. Oh, it is. Who's winning? What's the score?
I don't know. You know I don't watch sports. Oh, that was a great shot. Did you see that?
No, what happened? Maybe they'll show it again on instant replay. I wonder who the coach put in for the starting lineup.
Geez, I think there's a player down on the field.
It looks like he's walking off the field. He can't be hurt too badly.
Look, they're putting your favorite player in. Oh, what a play.
Wait a second. I thought you didn't watch sports.
I was never a sports fan before I met you. I think you're a bad influence on me.
Yes, very bad. Now stop hogging the couch and pass the chips. Hogging the couch and pass the chips.
So, what do you want to watch on TV tonight?
Well, what's on?
Well, there's a reality show on at 7 o'clock on Channel 5.
Nah, you know I don't like reality shows. I mean, they usually show people doing crazy things like, eating live fish or swimming in a pool full of snakes. I don't get into that.
Okay. Well, how about watching a documentary on the life of panda bears in the wild?
Personally, I'd rather watch something with a little bit more action and suspense.
Well, then. Here's something. Do you want to watch a rerun of Star Wars?
I've seen it a zillion times. I'd like to see something different.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, how about this? On Channel 2 at 9 o'clock, there's a home improvement show about fixing anything around the house. We do have a few things you could repair in the bathroom.
Fixing things? Oh, boy, I'm beat. I think I'm going to hit the sack.
You're going to bed?
Yeah, I have to get up early tomorrow.
And then you're going to fix the bathroom?
Good night.
Okay, too bad though. There's a basketball game on right now, but I guess you can catch the score in tomorrow's newspaper.
Oh, okay. I'll stay up and keep you company while we watch the game.
I thought you'd change your mind. I'll get the popcorn.
Okay.
Read the comments about the 4 movies listed and listen to 4 reviews and match the comments to the correct titles. Then listen again and check your answers. How many points is each movie given?
Most people seem to enjoy comedies, but if you're thinking of seeing Chris Wanger's new comedy, please think again. I don't know which was worse, the acting or the jokes. My rating? 2.5 out of 10.
I don't usually like movies that have me on the edge of my seat, but I really recommend the new suspense film Death Break. There are some fine performances from an excellent group of actors. Some people may have a problem with the violence in this film, but if lots of blood doesn't bother you, then go see this one. 7 out of 10.
As most of you may know, science fiction movies are just not my favorite kind of film. However, Alien Invasion is an exception. It has a good story, excellent acting, and some wonderful camera work by master cameraman Heinz-Dieter Klausbender. My rating? 8 out of 10.
If you like action films as much as I do, don't expect much from Frank Graziani's new movie, The Beguiled. I admit there's quite a bit of action here, but unfortunately the story is just too unbelievable and too long. I give the film a disappointing 4 out of 10.
Jerry, get those lights over here.
Working on movies must be really exciting.
Oh, yeah, but it's also very hard work. A 1-minute scene in a film can take days to shoot.
Why is that?
Well, each scene isn't filmed just once. Lots of different shots have to be done. Only the best ones are used in the film.
So how many shots are taken?
It depends, but sometimes as many as 20. One scene may be shot from 5 or 6 different angles.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Why don't you come visit the studio? You can see how the special effects are done.
Great, I'd love to.
Of course, it's not really as glamorous a job as people think.
I guess not.
For example, the hours are dreadful.
So it's not exactly a 9-to-5 job.
Not at all. Sometimes we shoot a scene right through the night, or we may start work early in the morning. We have to get everything ready for a shoot, the lighting and everything, and that can take hours. So if we're going to start filming at 8 in the morning, we usually have to be on the job by 3 or 4 a.m. to get ready.
3 in the morning? That's unbelievable.
Oh, no, it's not. Believe me, it happens all the time.
You know, I've always wanted to have my fortune told.
Really? Do you know where you can get it done?
I'm not sure, but maybe there are some fortune tellers listed in the phone book. Let's take a look.
Here's one. You could have your palm read by Madame Zara for $70.
That's really expensive.
What about this one? You can get your fortune told over the phone for only $3.75 a minute.
That's reasonable. Come on, try it with me.
One, how to overcome shyness.
Well, I think if you're really shy, it might be a good idea to see a therapist or someone like that. You know, to get some professional help. You can't always change by yourself.
Or how about getting one of those self-help books from the library? I'm sure there are books around with lots of good suggestions that you can try.
I think the best thing is to join a club and do activities where you have to meet and talk to different people. Like if you join a theater group and work on putting on a play, you'll probably be able to overcome your shyness.
2. How to stop biting your fingernails.
I think biting your fingernails is just a sign of nervousness. So the first thing to do is to find out what's making you nervous. Once you've identified that problem and then solved it, the nail biting will disappear.
My sister used to bite her nails all the time, so she started wearing bright red nail polish. She bought the really expensive kind, so she felt that she had made an investment in quitting her bad habit. I think the polish made her think about what she was doing, too. Anyway, after a few months, it worked, and she has really nice nails now. I guess if you're a guy, it's a little more difficult, though.
Maybe you can find something else to do when you're stressed out, like tapping your fingers or counting to 100. You have to try to transfer your habit into a different activity, one that doesn't cause such a problem.
First, listen and match the artists with the awards. Then listen again. What does Marcia think of the musicians? Check the correct column for each.
How's it going, Del?
Hi, Marcia. Hey, did you watch the music awards last night?
No, I was too busy. How was the show?
It was okay, but can you believe B3 won Song of the Year for Run On? I can't stand that group.
I don't mind B3.
Well, what do you think of Candy Warner? She got the award for Best New Artist.
Oh, I don't like her at all.
I don't either. What else? Oh, Best Rock Band went to Horn of Plenty.
That's great. I really like that group.
Do you? I guess I don't mind them.
I'll bet Best Dance Album went to Tessa Traynor for Bend It Back.
You guessed it. Tessa Traynor's a great singer, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
Let me see. Oh, yeah. Best Pop Album went to the Castaways.
You're kidding! I don't mind them, but they don't deserve an award.
You've got that right.
I really enjoy going to the movies with my friends most weekends. I usually check the movie listings in the newspaper or online to see what is playing. I also check the movie reviews because I don't want to see a bad movie. I like to arrive early at the movie theater so we don't have to stand in line too long to buy tickets. Sometimes the movie we want to see is sold out, so we might buy a ticket for a later showing. Once in the theater, I sometimes buy popcorn and a drink at the concession stand. The prices are sometimes high, but I like munching on something during a movie. I hand my ticket to the movie usher before entering the movie theater. I usually like to sit in an aisle seat somewhere in the middle of the movie theater. I think you can see the movie better instead of straining your neck back if you're unfortunate enough to sit in the front few rows. One thing I don't like is when other patrons or people talk during the movie, put their feet up on the back of my seat, or bring crying babies to the theater. Everyone should be able to enjoy the movie.
One, become a good cook.
I never actually spent any time in the kitchen until I moved away from home and got my own apartment. Then I had to learn. That is, if I wanted to eat something besides fast food. So I learned to cook just by getting some cookbooks and trying the recipes out. I made a lot of really awful mistakes and ate some of those mistakes, but practice does make perfect. Now I'm a pretty good cook. I've even thrown some dinner parties.
2. Become a good conversationalist.
I had always been really shy. I was the sort of person who could go to a party and never talk to anybody. And when you don't talk to anybody, it's hard to make friends. Anyway, my sister suggested I take an acting class. She said it might help me become more outgoing. So I did it. I was really frightened in that first acting class. But you know, it really helped. The teacher was very kind and taught me that I could talk to anybody just by pretending to be someone else.
Why the long face?
I don't know. I guess I'm feeling a little homesick.
I thought you got over that. I know the adjustment was hard when you first got here, but I thought you were coping pretty well.
I was. It's just that the holidays are coming up and I won't be able to go home because I can't afford the airfare. I'm just longing for some of the comforts of home, like my mom's cooking and being around my family.
Yeah, I can get pretty lonely over the holidays. When I first got here, I'd get depressed and nostalgic for anything that reminded me of home. But you know, I think I was just seeing things through rose-colored glasses.
What do you mean?
Well, things back home weren't really that idyllic, but from this distance, all I could think of was the good stuff and none of the bad.
I see what you mean, but I'm still bummed out.
I have an idea. Why don't we put on our own little holiday celebration? We can have it at my place, and we can invite all of our friends who are on their own this time of year. We'll each do something that'll remind us of home. What do you say? Misery loves company, as they say.
You know, I could really go for that. You don't mind all the trouble?
What trouble? As long as I don't have to cook, I'm up for it.
Cool. I'll ask around to see who else wants to come.
Okay, I'll do the same.
Thanks. I'm feeling better already. Thanks. I'm feeling better already.
I'm turning 40 this year, and what do I have to show for it?
Actually, you've accomplished a lot. Do you know what your problem is? Your expectations are too high, and your goals are unattainable for most people.
Not for me. They shouldn't have been. I had my life all planned out, and nothing is turning out the way it should.
I would never have pegged you for someone with regrets about how his life has turned out.
But I was supposed to make my first $1 million by the time I was 30. By 35, I should have met someone and settled down, maybe had a child or two. None of that has panned out.
You have lots of friends and a full life. Maybe things didn't turn out the way you had imagined, but wouldn't you say you were generally content?
I was before I started thinking about my upcoming birthday.
Then stop thinking about it. Too much brooding could definitely lead to regrets, not to mention premature aging.
Are these your sons, Jean? I haven't seen them for ages.
Yes, that photo was taken a few months ago.
John hasn't changed a bit. He's the image of his father, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He takes after his father, that's for sure.
What's he doing these days?
He's followed in his father's footsteps, too, and works in the family importing business. He's living overseas at the moment.
Oh, really? How does he like it?
Oh, it was difficult for him at first because he had to start from scratch. You know, finding somewhere to live and making new friends. He's settled in now, though, and he loves it.
That's good to hear. And how's David?
Well, I'm sorry to say he hasn't been very well. He's been having problems with his heart. We're very worried about him because heart disease runs in our family, you know.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes. My younger brother passed away last year after a heart attack.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that, Jean. He wasn't very old, was he?
No, he wasn't. Only 38. At least David knows about the problem and he can look after himself.
And do the boys keep in touch? I remember they used to be very close.
Yes, they do, but not as much as before they were married. Their wives don't get along, so it's a bit of a sticky situation, you know.
That's not good. In-laws can be a problem sometimes.
Yes, they can sometimes. This problem's because they're from different cultural backgrounds.
You're kidding.
Oh. It's a tough one because we brought up the boys to be tolerant about other cultures and to get on with everyone.
Well, let's hope their ideas rub off on their wives.
Let's hope so.
Do you want these want ads after I'm finished with them?
No, I'm not going to find my dream job in the classifieds. I'm going to have to get more creative with my job search.
What are you looking for?
I want a job that's rewarding and fast-paced, and with good growth potential. But all I see are dead-end jobs.
I know what you mean. I'm looking for something that's challenging, but also with flexible work hours. All of my friends have great jobs. Why can't I land one of them?
Instead of feeling sorry for ourselves, we need a better game plan.
What do you have in mind?
I'm not sure, but we need to get noticed.
Why don't you take out a billboard? That should get you noticed.
Hey, that's really thinking out of the box.
I was joking.
I'm not. That's an inspired idea. Now, what should we put on the billboard?
You're crazy.
Please have a seat, Mr. Saunders. I received your resume a few weeks ago, and I must say I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
We're a small financial company, trading mostly stocks and bonds. May I ask why you're interested in working for us?
Your company has an impressive reputation, and I've always wanted to work for a smaller company.
That's good to hear. Would you mind telling me a little bit about your present job?
I'm a head broker in a large international company. I deal with clients on a daily basis, handling all aspects of their accounts personally.
Why do you think you're the right candidate for this position?
I have a lot of experience in the stock market, and I enjoy working with people. As a matter of fact, in my current job, I am in charge of a team of 8 brokers.
Well, you might be just the person we've been looking for. Do you have any questions?
Yes. If I were hired, how many accounts would I be handling?
You'd be working with 2 other head brokers. In other words, you'd be handling about a third of our clients.
And whom would I report to?
Directly to me.
I see. What kind of benefit package do you offer?
2 weeks of paid vacation in your first year of employment. I believe you're also eligible for medical and dental insurance. But this is something you should discuss with our personnel department. Do you have any other questions?
No, not at the moment.
Well, I'll have to discuss your application with my colleagues, and we'll get back to you early next week.
Okay, thanks. It was very nice to meet you.
It was nice meeting you too, and thanks for coming in today.
Hello, may I speak to Simone Otto?
This is Simone. May I ask who's calling?
This is Ronaldo Garcia at Cinetech. You interviewed for a position with me last week?
Oh, yes, of course. How are you?
I'm doing well. The reason I'm calling is that I was very impressed with you last week, and I'd like to offer you the job.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to hear it. I really appreciate the job offer.
I think we now need to talk about salary. What are your salary requirements?
Well, for this type of position, I would be looking for a salary range between $60,000 and $65,000.
That's a bit higher than I was thinking, given our budget constraints. Perhaps we can give you an attractive compensation package if the salary isn't quite what you're looking for.
I'm certainly open to negotiations, though I think that the salary range I named is comparable to that of similar positions in the field.
All right. Why don't you consider this? I can give you a salary of $50,000, and I'll increase your annual vacation time from 2 weeks to 3 weeks.
I'll need to think about that.
In this economy, it's a salary that many people would jump at.
I understand that, but I also know that I have a lot to offer your company.
That's certainly true, and I don't want you to walk away from this job if there's any way we can close the gap in salary.
If you're willing to up the offer to $60,000, then I think it may be doable.
Well, $60,000 is really the ceiling for that position. I'll have to give it some thought and call you back.
Please do. And again, thank you very much for the offer. It would be an honor to work with you and to work at Cinetech. I haven't seen you around lately. What have you been up to?
My business partners and I have been putting the final touches on our new line of energy drinks.
Really? I didn't even know that you were in the beverage business.
Yeah, we've branched out into a few other areas. We're going to start promoting the new drinks very soon. We're working with an advertising agency, and we'll start with sponsoring a couple of sporting events.
Wow. When am I going to start seeing your ads on TV?
I don't think we're going to go that route just yet.
Are you taking the new products to trade shows?
No trade shows for us. We're working on product placement in some music videos and maybe a TV show or two.
That's great. What about tie-ins with other products or with a movie? I see those everywhere.
We're considering it. We're working on a couple of endorsement deals right now. Once we have some celebrities on board, we'll do even more.
It would be great if you could get Jeff McQuillan to endorse your products. Everybody knows he's the greatest baseball player who ever lived. With him plugging your energy drinks, sales will go through the roof.
Yeah, but I think we'd be shooting too high. We might have to settle for someone a little less famous, like David Beckham or Lance Armstrong.
You asked Beth to be here around 7 o'clock, didn't you?
Yes, what time is it now?
It's nearly 7:45. I wonder what happened.
She might have forgotten the time. Why don't I call and see if she's on her way?
A few minutes later.
I got her answering machine, so I guess she must have left already.
I hope she didn't have a problem on the road. Her car could have broken down or something.
Of course, she may have simply forgotten our invitation and done something else today.
No, she couldn't have forgotten. I talked to her only yesterday. Let's just start without her.
How was your dinner party? I think it went pretty well. People really seemed to enjoy themselves. That's good. Yeah, but we shouldn't have invited my wife's boss again. We can never get him to leave. Really? How late did he stay this time? Until 2 o'clock in the morning. And we both had to get up early the next day.
Oh, he shouldn't have stayed so late. That was really inconsiderate. You should have asked him to leave earlier.
Well, it's pretty difficult to do that to your wife's boss.
Rich, you look exhausted.
I know. I didn't get much sleep last night.
What happened?
Remember those guys I told you about?
The ones that just moved in next door?
Yeah, they had another party, and the noise kept me awake all night.
Well, something has got to be done. This has happened every weekend since they moved in.
Yeah, tell me about it. I finally had to call the police.
I would have done the same thing. They shouldn't be allowed to disturb people like that. And anyway, they should have at least invited you to the party.
Let's go on an all-inclusive vacation to a resort in Jamaica.
I'd like to go to Jamaica, but I don't know about going to an all-inclusive resort.
It saves so much time and planning. With these vacation packages, all of our lodging is included, and we don't have to pay extra for anything. For one fixed price, we get unlimited food and drinks, and all of the activities and entertainment we want.
It sounds a little too predictable to me. You know that when I travel, I like to go off the beaten track. The fun is in going out of the tourist areas to find the real character of a place.
I know, but a resort has its pluses. If we pick a good resort, we'll know that everything will be first-rate. There won't be any problems with substandard amenities or service.
That may be true, but I'm still not convinced. I'd rather keep looking until we find a good compromise that will have the predictability you want and the spontaneity that I want.
Okay, but we agree on Jamaica, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's Jamaica or bust. Jamaica or bust.
One.
Well, space exploration is pretty expensive, but I think it's worth it.
Why is that?
Well, that's how we learn more about the universe we live in. That's pretty important, isn't it?
2.
There are way too many commercials on TV these days. They really make me mad.
Oh yeah? Why's that?
Because they always interrupt my favorite TV programs. Some of those commercials are really long.
3.
I think the Olympic Games are great. I can't wait for the next ones.
Really? Why?
Well, they encourage an interest in sports. They also help bring about better international understanding. We need more of that.
4.
Every city needs lotteries, I think.
Why do you think that?
Well, because they can raise money for the city. They're a much better way of raising money than taxes.
5.
Well, action movies might be fun, but I don't think they are really good for young people.
Really? Why do you say that?
Because they are way too violent. I never let my kids watch them.
6.
If you ask me, people in this city shouldn't be allowed to have those big dogs.
How come?
Because most apartments are too small for a big dog. They don't have anywhere to play.
Hey, Donna, did you hear about the plan to build an amusement park at Discovery Bay?
No, I didn't. How did you hear about it?
Look, it's all here in the newspaper.
Oh, no. This will really destroy the environment.
Oh, I don't know. Sure, there'll be a bit more pollution and crowds, but tourists will be good for the economy, don't you think?
I guess so. But Discovery Bay is such a quiet and peaceful place right now, and lots of families with small kids live there.
Well, the locals should enjoy the new place as much as the tourists. I think it's a pretty boring place right now, actually.
Well, I don't know. And it says here that they're going to fill in part of the bay. What will happen to the dolphins?
I don't know.
They'll be wiped out, I bet.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do. They're a rare species, you know, and the bay is their habitat.
Well, you can't stop progress.
Unfortunately, that's probably true.
Listen to 3 successful entrepreneurs talk about their businesses. What are the 2 most important reasons for each person's success? 1. Elena.
I'm the owner of a restaurant in the city. It's a kind of theme restaurant. We specialize in Latin American food, and we serve dishes that are tasty and also healthy. The restaurant started out quite small, but lately I've been able to double the amount of space we have, and it's doing really well. Next year I plan to open another restaurant based on the same successful formula. Maybe we'll serve food from the Caribbean, you know, like Jamaica and the Virgin Islands, as well as Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. I think the reason the restaurant is successful is that we concentrate on serving food of the very best quality for a reasonable price. I think advertising has also been important. We've run ads in magazines aimed at younger professional types, and the restaurant has become a kind of meeting place for people.
2. Richard.
I have a business that provides natural juice drinks to snack bars and convenience stores in the California area. I have 40 employees, and my business has tripled in size in the last 4 years. And it keeps right on growing. In fact, I hope to go national in the next year or so. What are the reasons for my success? Well, one thing you need in order to succeed is a product you really believe in. I first tasted the type of juice drinks I sell in Spain, and I decided to try to learn how they were made. I experimented for several weeks before I found a successful way of mixing fruit, sugar, and water. Once I had it, I knew it would sell. I think packaging has also been extremely important. I hired an artist friend of mine to develop an eye-catching logo and label. I think at first, people started buying my drinks just because they liked the look of the bottle. Then, once they tried it, they came back for more.
3. Bill.
I have a mail-order clothing business. I specialize in T-shirts and sports clothes, but with really bold designs. I got the idea after I came back from a trip to Asia with some really cool and unusual sports clothes. All my friends started asking, like, "Where did you get that T-shirt?" So I thought I could make some money by importing clothes and using a mail-order catalog to sell them. One of the reasons my business has done so well is that I know my market. I sell to people like me, people who like sports. And all the clothes in the catalog are great to wear, whether you're at the gym or out on the tennis court or just jogging down the road. Another factor is the design of my catalog. The catalog has a different look from other catalogs. It's fun, with humor in it, and it's very colorful. Lots of people say they never throw my catalogs away, so that tells me something.
Wow, I've never seen so many shopping bags in my life. I can guess where you've been.
I did go overboard a bit today. I went to the outlet mall and I found some real bargains. Nearly everything was discounted. I was in shopping heaven.
I can see that.
My favorite store had reduced prices for all of its sweaters, so I bought 5. They were already on sale, but the store knocked another $5 off the price. I got them at half price. I was going to buy 3, but the store had a special offer. If you buy 4, the 5th one is free.
But doesn't that mean you spent more money since you bought 5 sweaters when you only wanted 3?
How could I resist? They were being sold at bargain basement prices. At another store, the sale items were 2 for the price of 1. I've never seen things in that store so cheap.
Where are you going now?
I'm going back to the outlet stores, of course. I just came home for a little breather. There's more shopping to be done.
Try to leave a few things for the other shoppers.
Have you heard about the new computer they're coming out with? It'll be able to recognize any voice command, so you won't ever need to use the keyboard.
Yeah, and soon everyone will be using computers that fit into the palm of your hand.
Within 20 years, I bet all our news and information will be coming through computers.
By then, maybe even newspapers will have disappeared.
Wow! Computers are going to take over our lives one of these days.
Yeah, isn't it great?
You know what else I think? In a few years, you won't need to go to a university campus to get a university degree.
How will you do it?
They'll have found a way for you to take all your courses on the computer over the internet. When you want to talk to a professor, you'll just tap into his or her website and find out anything you need to know.
That would be great. No need to get up in the morning for early classes. And I bet libraries will probably disappear too.
What'll you do when you need something to read?
Everything will be on CD-ROM, and you'll be able to access everything you want from your home over the computer. There'll be no need to have huge buildings full of books. No need to waste all that paper.
Gee, I don't like the sound of that. There's nothing better than curling up with a book. I can't quite picture curling up with a computer.
Hey, Allison, congratulations!
Happy birthday, Allison. So how does it feel to be 21?
Kind of strange. I suddenly feel a little anxious, like I'm not moving ahead fast enough.
But don't you think you've accomplished quite a bit in the last few years?
Oh, I've managed to get good grades in all my courses, but I still haven't been able to decide on a career.
Well, what do you hope you'll have achieved by the time you're 30?
For one thing, I hope I'll have seen more of the world. But more important than that, I'd like to have made a good start on my career by then.
One, psychologist.
Maybe the biggest challenge for me is listening to people talk about their problems all day. At the end of the day, I'm usually pretty worn out. At times, it can be depressing as well. On the other hand, I do see patients making real progress. It's great to see someone really turn their life around and get on top of a problem that they never thought they could deal with.
2, camp counselor.
As a camp counselor, it's difficult to find a way to get through to kids with problems and win their trust. Sometimes kids are very suspicious and find it hard to trust an adult, even a young adult. So getting them to open up is the hardest part. Once you've done that, they almost become different people. One of the things I find most rewarding is seeing kids develop confidence and a sense of self-worth. It's especially great to see that happen in a kid who started out the summer with low self-esteem.
3, firefighter.
It sounds pretty obvious, but in my job, the biggest challenge is going into a burning building that's full of smoke when you can barely see a few inches in front of you. It's really difficult, especially when you know there are people in there and it's your job to get them out. Once you do get someone out safely, then you feel really great, and you forget about how dangerous the work is.
One, Justin.
What do I hope I'll have achieved by the time I'm 30? Well, I hope I'll have made a successful career in the music industry. Right now, I play in a band, and I'd love to be able to do that professionally. I plan to form a group of my own in a few years. Once we get known, we'll record an album. And make music videos, of course. And try to break into the music scene in a big way.
2, Sophia.
I plan to be a doctor.
When I've graduated from med school and finished with my interning, I want to work overseas for a few years. I'll probably work in a developing country with an organization like UNICEF. After that, I'll come back home and work in a hospital. I don't really care if I make a lot of money or not, but I do want to work somewhere where I feel I can make a difference.
3. Rachel.
I'm planning to be a model. I've already had some modeling experience, and after I graduate, I'm going to see if I can get a job with an agency in New York or Los Angeles. I'll probably work as a model for 10 years or so, and then I hope to start a modeling agency of my own.
You know, there's a factory outside town that's pumping chemicals into the river.
How can they do that? Isn't that against the law?
Yes, it is, but a lot of companies ignore those laws.
That's terrible. What can Greener World do?
Well, one thing to do about it is to talk to the management.
What if that doesn't work?
Well, then another way to stop them is to get a TV station to run a story on it.
Yes! Companies hate bad publicity. By the way, what's the name of this company?
It's called Apex Industries.
Oh, no. My uncle is one of their top executives.
One. I grew up around here, and the river has always been really polluted. Industries were dumping all sorts of chemicals and waste into the water, so the river really smelled bad. You wouldn't even think of swimming there. Well, I decided to do something about it. My neighbors and I wrote a letter to the mayor asking him to force these industries to clean up the river. I really hope the government listens to us.
2.
Over the last few years, we've been having much hotter summers and warmer winters. When I was a kid here, we used to have a lot of fluffy white snow on Christmas. Now we don't get that, and there hasn't been much rain for a couple of years. I guess this is the effect of that global warming I keep hearing about in the news. That's why we've decided to move to Chicago. There's plenty of snow and rain up there.
3.
When did the world get so crazy? That's what I'd like to know. For years, I thought everything was fine. Now all I read about in the newspaper is countries fighting each other and dropping bombs and explosions and terrible things like that. You know what I did about it? I stopped reading the newspaper. Now, whenever I want to read something, I just pick up one of those sports magazines. No bad news in there.
4.
It's almost impossible to get across the city in less than an hour and a half during rush hour. There are too many cars and vehicles on the roads. There are only 2 freeways, and they just can't handle the traffic. The only thing that moves quickly in this city is the subway. That's why I took an apartment right next to the subway station.
5.
One of the biggest problems we face is garbage. Where can we put it all? In the past, everything used to get buried in giant landfills, but in many countries today, the landfills are full and there is no room to start new ones. That's why I started recycling my garbage. I do it every week. It's really the only solution.
6.
In the future, everyone will have to live in giant high-rise buildings if they want to live in cities. These new buildings might be 100 stories tall or more. If cities keep getting bigger, the only way they can expand is upward. I can't stand crowded cities myself. That's why I moved to a small town in the country.